And I know people gonna hate on you. I know people gonna hate on me, and they're gonna be black. I'm old enough and I'm around enough to know there's gonna be some hate coming toward me, especially if they disagree with something I say.
Right. Now, I got to question your sexuality.
Yeah.
I got to question, how black are you? Because, bro, I'm like, come on, man.
What is good, y'all? So y'all already know what time it is. We got to react to this Charles Barkley and Shannon Sharpe video where they're talking about the black community and how they're always calling them Uncle Toms and raccoons, okay? This is basically a common thing in the black community where if you disagree with some sort of collective monolithic type of way of thinking, then you're automatically labeled as someone who is basically not part of the community. You get your black card revoked, okay? And unfortunately, this is something that a lot of people have dealt with where basically you have to be a lot of time as ignorant and as foolish and as ghetto as possible in order to be considered a true member of the black community. Whereas if you do things like speak proper English and care about your education and want to have like a normal traditional family instead of being out here in these streets selling drugs and smoking weed and having a bunch of babies, then something is wrong with you. You're not one of us, you're one of them. You're one of the whites, right? Like they look at everybody who does things that are in a lot of cases objectively superior as somehow being an affront against your race of being a black American, which is just totally foolish and dumb. And one of the reasons that this channel exists and why I call it the Black Anomaly Rising Channel. That's the whole point, okay? Because you can be whatever you want to be, but unfortunately for now, unless one of the core objectives of this channel were to come to pass, then I'm gonna be an anomaly for a long time. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it.
I always want to uplift black people.
Correct.
Always. I'm proud of your success. And I know people gonna hate on you. I know people gonna hate on me, and they're gonna be black. I said, but man, I love to see black people doing good.
I love to see us win.
I love it. But I was like,
the only criticism I got for Charles Barkley is I believe you, Charles, but you don't really care about black people who have what you perceive as wrong think. If I'm sure you guys recall how you said he was going to punch Trump supporters in the face if they had a Trump mugshot shirt on.
And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts.
When you heard that, what did you think? Big sigh.
First of all, I'm just going to say this. If I see a black person walking around with Trump mugshot, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Charles.
No, Gail.
Charles.
Gail.
You really can't say that because, A, you don't mean that.
I mean that sincerely. I'm going to just tell you something.
And then you will be arrested for assault. And then what?
I'm going to bail myself out and go celebrate. If I smell
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. Okay, but go ahead.
Seriously.
Continue.
First of all, if I was at that
conference,
I'd have got up and walked out. That was an insult to all black people. Because he basically just saying, and first of all, to compare black history where we've been discriminated against to his plight.
Yes.
Well, first of all, he's a billionaire. And they're prosecuting him for stuff he did wrong. They're prosecuting him for stuff he did wrong. And for him to compare...
It's still in the court system, Charles. We have to wait. It's still in the court system. But continue.
Well,
continue.
Some of the stuff is true. They did storm the Capitol. They did say that the election was stolen. Those aren't lies, Gail.
Yeah.
Those are
They
facts.
did say that. They did say that.
But to compare, I would have got up and walked out because it's not a fair comparison. You know, he's a billionaire. He's had a great life. He's been president of the United States. To insult black people who have been discriminated against all these years, to put them in the same category, I was just offended.
So he wants to see black people be successful and he doesn't like wrongthink, but he's guilty himself of othering blacks for wrongthink. Very hypocritical.
I'm old enough and I'm around enough to know there's gonna be some hate coming toward me, especially if they disagree with something I say.
Right. But I want you to win, but I don't want you to win more than me. Now I see if you win more than me, now I got to question your sexuality.
Yeah.
I got to question, you know, how black are you? Because, bro, I'm like, come on, man. I mean, I criticize white quarterbacks. But if I criticize a black quarterback, man, see, I should have known old Buck Nancy Shannon. I know he gonna take care of the white. Come on, bro.
Look, so this is how it always is, including on this channel. So majority of my videos are like making fun of what? CNN, MSNBC, usually a bunch of white news anchors, people like Joe Biden, right? But the second anybody sees something where I'm criticizing Stephen A. Smith, Charles Barkley, then people get in the comment, you'll never do nothing besides talk bad about black people. That's all they see. It's because that's all you care about. It's a low-key feminine energy, but basically when people see something, then that's what triggers them. That's all they care about. They don't care about nothing else. And the logic and the facts and the reason doesn't matter. Like I could do 100 videos talking bad about some white folks, one video talking bad about black people, and that's going to be enough for some people to just be like, oh, you're anti-black. It doesn't make sense.
I'm not going to tell black people they're right all the time.
No.
If you want that, I'm not your guy.
If you wrong,
you're wrong.
I got to tell you you're wrong.
I said, yo, man, no. We can be wrong. But also, on the other hand, when I see some shit happen to a black player of the community, I'm going to step in.
Right.
I always think about, because, you know, it always makes me laugh. Because my friend's like, yo, man, you got these people eating out your hand. I said, what you talking about? He says, you know the reaction before you say it. I says, of course I do. I know when I'm going to start a fire. Yeah. I know it. Right. But I had planned on the start, because most of the time, that goes back to the role model commercial I made.
Right. Yes.
So when I made the commercial, I went to Nike and said, I want to make this commercial. I said, they're like, you out of your mind. I said, no. I said, what I'm noticing is we have too many segregated schools in this country. I said, when I go to these white schools, I said, what do y'all want to do when you grow up? They like, want to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers. When I go to these black schools, they're like, I want to play in the NFL, I want to play in the NBA. And I was doing this because you do a lot of speaking.
Well, in fairness, I mean, there's not a whole lot of like really examples to go off of in the black community. Like there's like this very small minority of people who are exceptional, you know, like, you know, the people that you're seeing on your screen. And as it relates to people that are kind of like below that tier and like the doctor and attorney tier, there's way less people in the black community who really qualify. Certainly less people that these people at the kids at the school are going to be aware of. So it's just, they don't have those role models. And it is a good thing, even though I like to kind of, you know, pretty much roast Charles Barkley for his stupid behind takes all the time. This is a rare instance of Charles Barkley actually making sense. So I'll give credit where it's due. Okay, normally this guy's a complete bonehead. And I think in general, his political takes are ass. But in this case, this is a good take because a lot of people in the black community could stand to have not a bit more, but a hell of a lot of more diversity of thought and diversity in career, diversity in overall life direction. Okay, it doesn't have to be either I'm gonna be a drug dealer, I'm gonna be a rapper, or I'm gonna be a big name actor or actress. It doesn't have to be one of those things. It could be being a doctor, it could be an attorney, it could be U.S. military, it could be a lot of things. And just because there's a few people who do those things doesn't mean the majority of them do, because unfortunately, I'm quite in tune with the community, and majority of people are pretty poor and not very well educated, which is something that I'd love to change. And that's one of the goals of this channel, at least for people that's watching it, to see that you can do, hell, you can start a YouTube channel, you can do all kinds of stuff. So just got to stick your mind to it and don't make it all about race and have it be this race obsession all the time, which is a big thing and a big problem in the black community, is a race-based obsession rather than a skill and elitism obsession. Focus on skills, one, and two, being damn good, and you can't lose.
So I was doing this for like 4 or 5 years, and I was like, yo, man, these black kids think they can only be successful through athletics and entertainment.
Yep.
They don't ever think about being doctors, lawyers, and engineers and shit like that.
Right.
So I talked Nike into doing the commercial. and it became a big deal.
You did.
Still probably the thing I'm most proud of to this day. I said, because I knew it was going to start a fire.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a role model. I'm not paid to be a role model. I am paid to wreak havoc on the basketball court. Parents should be role models. Just because I dunk a basketball doesn't mean I should raise your kids.
And I was like, guys, I'm not trying to skirt responsibility, but I want young black kids to know, like, yo, man, you don't have to play in the NFL or NBA. We got black doctors.
Right.
We got black lawyers. We got black engineers.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all got these kids thinking like all they see is Shannon, Michael, Carl, Chuck, David Robinson. The only black people they see are jocks and entertain, Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
I said, man, they got a better chance of being a doctor than a lawyer playing in it.
Jay-Z
Yes.
or LeBron.
Yes. And I said, I just
Much
want to
better
spark the
chance.
debate. And in fairness to Nike came back to me later and said, man, we want to thank you for making that commercial. I said, because 90% of the letters we got were pro. I said, well, first of all, I'm not worried about no negative publicity. I play in Philly.
Guys, so again, a rare instance of Charles Barkley actually speaking some good sense, okay? But kudos to Charles Barkley and Shannon Sharpe for using their platform for some good. I'm impressed. Okay, I'm impressed. They're kind of low-key going in on the black community, not in some sort of negative way, but is in a way that I think a lot of people need, kind of that tough love. I feel like kind of belittling the mindset of we all got to be exactly the same, otherwise we're not black, is something that we should do. It should be made fun of. That thought process should be belittled and made fun of to show people how foolish it is, because obviously if that type of mindset and mentality hasn't really gotten black people anywhere, why would you continue to have that mindset? The mindset should be on elevation, okay, on strength, family, just growing, education, things like that. You know, not a bunch of this degeneracy that a bunch of like rap and pop culture music and, you know, people like that promote. It could be kind of fun, right? I indulge. Don't get the wrong idea. I definitely indulge in a lot of ratchet music, right? It is what it is. It's fun music to me. Some people, they can't even indulge in it and think that that might take me down a couple, maybe it does take me down a couple notches when I listen to it mentally, but I have fun in it. There's nothing I could do. It exists out here in this world. Pretty much everybody, I'm in Atlanta, so turn on the radio, it's going to come on. Right? But I also know that that stuff's not real life. That's how entertainers make money. It got nothing to do with nobody in the real world, with the exception of those entertainers and what people are willing to pay for and what people like to hear. But people trying to live their lifestyle like that, like between the hoeing and the drugs and the gangs and whatever else, that stuff doesn't work. Okay, all of the cutting people off forever for slighting you in a least bit way instead of actually talking, communicating with people, and not having families, having like a bunch of babies and all kinds of stuff, and just living a difficult life. A lot of these people don't know that life could be so much greater if you just thought a little bit differently, take accountability for your actions, don't make race the forefront to everything, because there's so much to life that you're missing out on, and you're really not elevating yourself to the highest level when you obsess over that. And there's always going to be a lot of people in this world competing against you. I mean, and let's face it, we're all in competition with one another. And if you're just sitting up here obsessed about your how blackity black everything is, and how systematic racism, like that's all you focus on. Meanwhile, you're missing out on getting the best education in math and literature and anything in business and, you know, finance, learning about these really important things that effectively your competition is learning about. That's what they're talking about while you're busy having that racist pity party. These folks are out here elevating themselves constantly. So you're either going to be a winner or loser. Charles Barkley, even himself, even the bonehead in chief himself, is out here saying, hey, be a winner. So Charles, look, I may have take back a thing or two that I said about you. I mean, I still think you're pretty boneheaded, but you might have been on to something this time. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
I'm not gonna tell black people they right all the time.
No.
If you want that, I'm not your guy.
If you wrong,
You're wrong.
I gotta tell you you're wrong.